Yeah, we'll just kind of turn the corner here. All right, so the next product that we're going to talk about is a water transfer pump, but not just any water transfer pump. This is the new Milwaukee M18 transfer pump. And what a transfer pump does is it simply moves water from point A to point B. And while we have a very plumbing-focused application up here right now, what I encourage you to think about is all the different situations and scenarios in which you need to get water out of your way before you can move on to the next step, right? So if you're talking about moving a toilet, you need to get the water out of that toilet. If you have a flooded basement or subfloor, you need to get water out of that space. Or if you've dug a trench in somebody's yard, you need to get water out of that space. So there's a lot of applications in which transferring water from one place to another is a critical first step before you complete that actual task. So what I'd like to do is give you a little bit of a story of what it's like to use a competitive unit versus an M18 transfer pump from Milwaukee. So the first thing that we want to do when we reinstall a water heater is we got to take all 50 gallons of water out of this. So if we're using a competitive transfer pump, we're going to come on site and the first thing we have to do is find the electrical, right? So we need to find out where that outlet is that I'm going to plug into in order to power my tool. Well, one thing about electricity and water is they don't necessarily play nice together. So running extension cords all across somebody's basement when it's potentially wet is not the ideal situation to be working. So right off the bat, the fact that this is M18 powered is a critical advantage for our users and your readers when it comes to being able to walk right up to the water heater, set up shop, and begin that task. The next piece is once you've got your hoses connected, now we need to start pumping the water. So I'm going to have one volunteer come up here, and I'm going to pick randomly. How about you come up? Right behind you. There we go. So, question for you. Are you familiar with priming?
A bit.
Do you know how to prime a water pump?
No.
Good, because you don't have to.
All right.
So, typically what you have to do with a competitive prime is that you need to unscrew a cap, take a funnel, pour some water in there, cap it off, and now that pump actually has the water for it to turn on and start up and start pumping water. What's unique about the Milwaukee M18 unit is that it's a self-priming unit. So we can skip that entire step and go right to pumping the water. So I'm going to give you the hardest task here. Can you press that button for me, please? Boom. Yeah. So we're already going. We didn't get power, we didn't have to prime, and we're now pumping 7.5 gallons per minute out of this tank. So you can hop aside, you've done a great job. So now, one of the things is, this is going to take 8 to 9 minutes to pump all this water out of here. So that's 8 to 9 minutes in which I could be doing something else. Now the challenge is with a competitive unit, once this is done pumping 50 gallons and this thing is running, we get into what we call a dry pump situation. Now this can hurt the motor, this can hurt the impellers that do all the pumping work and shorten the life of that tool. So something that's unique, and it's an extension of our RedLink capabilities, is the fact that with the Milwaukee M18 unit, this will actually shut off after 1 minute of dry pumping. So what's really great about this is if you think about those 8 to 10 minutes in which this is pumping 50 gallons of water out of this water heater, I can now actually step aside and go grab other tools that I need to perform the rest of this task. I could go make a phone call, I could go do paperwork, I could do other things in the time while this is pumping all the water out of this unit. And for a contractor, this is a huge productivity advantage. And so in combination with the battery technology, the self-priming, and the auto shutoff and a dry pump, we're giving a promise to users that they are going to get a faster water transfer and ultimately make a faster service call. And those are the advantages that the M18 transfer pump delivers to our users and your readers. So with that, we're going to switch over to another M18 product that revolves around the piping installation systems.